on. Am I the asshole because I didn't let my daughter skip a grade? Ooh. My kids are Jonah, 14-year-old boy, and Emma, 12-year-old girl. And my husband is Johnny, who's 40. Emma has always been brighter than is typical for her age. She was reading at age 4, and she's even gone to national competitions.
Reading competitions? Cool.
Are there reading competitions?
That's what I'm like. There's a national reading competition? I don't know. How fast can you read?
We're really proud of her and all she's accomplishing. She's been in a gifted, talented program for a few years now. But her school wants to take it further. They want her to go to 8th grade this year instead of 7th. The thing is, though, Jonah repeated a year, the 6th grade, so he is actually in 8th grade. It was a hard year for him overall. He's a bit ashamed of that year, and it really bothers him that he didn't put in more effort. I don't think it would be good for him if he and Emma share classes, which is very likely because it's a small school. So I declined the skipping grades arrangement and asked if we can just give Emma further enrichment like we've been doing, because she can definitely do 8th grade work. I thought that would be best for both kids. The trouble is that when I told Emma what we decided for her, she didn't take it well. She grew testy, saying Jonah's school placement has nothing to do with her. I told her that I was thinking of both of them when I made that decision. Emma later went to her room in tears, but she wouldn't let me check on her all evening. Johnny, the husband, sided with me, saying it's right that I took both kids into account, but Emma is clearly still bothered, and I really didn't want to upset her. I just wanted to be fair to everyone. Am I the asshole? Does this remind you of anything in your sister pod? Could you imagine if you were held back from an opportunity because Jen wasn't doing as well in dance or in school or anything like that? That would really make you resent your sibling, right?
Yeah, I think my gut reaction is, although I don't want to use the word like asshole, I just think that it would be unfair of the parent to hold back one sibling because the other sibling is doing worse or might feel hurt. I think you just have to prepare the other affected sibling in a way that will make them feel more comfortable, explain it to them, and try and make them feel like okay with the situation. And also make sure that Emma, the more advanced academic in this situation, understands how her behavior could affect her sibling. Like, don't be rude about it, don't rub it in his face, don't embarrass him. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's things you can do, but ultimately I don't think it's fair to either of them, really. Like, who are you really helping here if you're holding back one of the siblings because they're doing well in school, because you don't want to hurt the brother?
Yeah, the mom is suggesting she's taking both of them into account, but it seems to me the decision's being entirely dictated by taking the son into account.
And is that really helping the son? Like, if we're only considering that.
Yeah, I guess it would be weird to be in the same grade school class as your
smarter sister.
Your sister who is 2 years younger than you. Like, I'm not going to deny that would be weird.
I get it. Like, I'm sure that he would experience some, being made fun of by his peers at that age. Of course, that's going to happen. You
know what's weird here, too? The mom suggests that the son sort of regretted not trying hard enough in the 6th grade, and that's why he was held back. How old are you in grade 6?
This might be, like, not American, though.
But, like, let's assume that's probably, like, 12. Like, isn't it kind of on the... there could be a lot of reasons someone is, developmentally delayed for some reason. There could be, like, legitimate reasons for that, I suppose. But it's kind of strange how the parent is saying, like, it's too bad the kid didn't work harder to pass 6th grade.
Okay, yeah, you can't say that about, like, a 12-year-old.
That's
work
pretty
harder
strange,
to pass your grade. Okay, like, there's a million things that could be going on.
Exactly. Okay, we don't know. But yeah, no, I think this is pretty terrible. And I think the daughter is totally warranted in reacting this way.
Yeah, like, let her advance. You're holding the daughter back now from developing potential, like, even increasing skills. Like, why would you do that? Just to maybe protect the brother? Like, the brother is still going to be hurt because he already perceives his sister as super smart. And so it doesn't matter.
There might be other legitimate reasons for not wanting your kid to skip ahead a year, potentially, right? But this reason, I think, is just really misguided. Like, maybe there's a reason you don't want your kid to jump ahead a year. You want them to take their time and just use other avenues to help, other enrichment programs and such to sort of make them feel better.
Didn't you ever kind of have to make this decision? Like, when you went to Australia, the grades were different. So was there not at some point like which grade should we land him in question?
Yeah. So when I moved to Australia...
You were how old?
I was 10 years old. I think that would have been the third grade, I
So
want to
and they're
say.
not the same
So
as
yeah,
Canada,
because their
right?
winter is our summer, their school year is kind of like opposite. It's kind of flipped. So yeah, when we moved there, I had the choice to either kind of go back a few months and kind of start the second grade over again, or just skip right ahead to the third grade.
So
Or
what did
grade
you
3
do?
to 4, I can't remember. So we skipped ahead.
Did
But
all your siblings skip ahead?
I think we all did
You all
that.
did.
And I think it actually was kind of a stressful thing because I remember landing in Australia and like I vividly remember being in school and they're talking about like, I think it was multiplication tables. And I'm like, they're just doing it. And I'm like, I have never seen this before. And I remember the first little while actually being really tough.
Yeah.
I remember better coming back because then I just sort of reset back a few months.
So it was easier coming back.
Yeah, but then I remember sitting in class and being like, I'm surrounded by a bunch of babies. And I actually think it might explain something about my personality that I felt like I was too good to be in that class. I think that kind of stuck with me a little bit. I'm not saying that's a good thing. But actually, so that led to, I went into an enrichment program when I came back. And I think a lot of that's just because I had gone a little bit further when I was in school abroad. But actually, you want to know really, this is a tangent about Ben's grade school education.
Tell us.
To get into the enrichment program, you had to do like sort of a series of tests. One of them was so there were three metrics.
What's an enrichment program?
So in Canada, just there's different streams. I don't know if this is a controversial topic or not, but like,
A gifted? Is it the same thing as a gifted program?
yeah,
Okay.
Gifted enrichment, I think people use interchangeably, but you just end up in a class with kids who are usually just have richer parents who were
There's
able
a
to
lot
read
of
to them more. Like,
controversy about like how legitimate they are. I don't know much about it. I just remember hearing that as a topic of discussion. But sorry.
okay,
go
but
on.
sorry, yeah, I was doing the test to get into the gifted program, and I did, but the test to get into it, there was three components. There was a standardized test. There was an interview with I think a psychologist technically, and then the third thing was the recommendation of your teacher. And so, like, I was temporarily in the enrichment class while they were doing these tests. So it's the recommendation of the enrichment teacher, the gifted teacher. So that's an important detail because they each get to give like a number of points to determine whether you get into gifted, right? So on the standardized tests, I did fine. The psychologist gave me fine. So let's say like that accounted for 70 of 100 points to get into gifted. And then the teacher gets to decide the last 30 points or so. So I think I had like 69 out of 100 on those first two things. So if the teacher had given me 1 point out of 30, I would have gotten into gifted. And the teacher, her first decision was to give me 0 out of 30. Because,
Why?
and our speculation, I think what is obviously the case is that she just was probably overworked and didn't want another student in her class. I actually thought she was a pretty terrible teacher. But the fact that she had the ability to make that decision and she just decided to. So I remember my parents like they had
parents
to
fought
talk
it?
to the school and be like, this is absurd,
Wait,
you know?
so they
like,
really wanted you to be in the gifted program?
well, they just saw how bored I was, or like it was pretty bad being in the non one because I had also gone back in time. You know what I mean?
But you ended up sticking in regular public.
I think they talked to the
school.
principal and be like, it is ridiculous that this teacher would decide to allocate like absolutely no.
So did you end up?
So I did
you
end up in the
getting
enrichment.
it.
That was a long way
Okay.
of sort of
Is
explaining.
that every class? Like every class is a gifted class, full of gifted magical students, or
Magic, yeah, we were all magic.
super smart people?
Were you in the gifted program?
I was not in the super smart elite class. No,
Yeah, I don't really.
I remember
know.
taking the test though.
Yeah.
And yeah. Why is this like this almost feels like traumatic. I remember being in grade, I don't know, 5, 6, or 7, which is when you're 8 to 10. And like gifted students was so embedded in our discourse. And it was like, are you gifted? Are you going to get in the gifted program? And it was just like all parents were talking about. It was like questions at the parent teacher conference all the time. I just remember it causing me a lot of stress because a lot of my parents' friends had kids that were gifted or that they really wanted to be gifted, so they gave them extra classes. They sent them to Kumon. Do you remember Kumon?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's outside of
I'm aware of
Canada.
that.
So I was sent to Kumon. I fucking hated it, and I stopped it. I also got to stop it because we were too busy doing commercial auditions.
Okay.
So I just didn't have time to do Kumon. But I was made to take the gifted test, and I remember I got borderline, which I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean, but ultimately, yeah, I guess they could have pushed to send me to another class or school, and I just said, like, I really didn't want to. Like, I remember crying about it.
Oh, I don't remember it being. Yeah, I'm not sure if
I
it was a
don't
big
really know
thing.
why. And, like, maybe there's something in my repressed memories, but I just remember amongst, like, the friends group, it was creating, like, a really big divide, and there was so much pressure from parents to, like, find out if their kids were gifted.
I understand
made
why
me so
parents
uncomfortable.
are pushing for their kids to end up in the class that sort of maybe gets them a bit of a further education. You know what I mean?
I hear you, but I just, like, in the end, I'm not sure what big of a difference that makes for Ontario public schools in our circumstance. I'm not saying it's the same everywhere else in the world.
I think just going to a good school is probably more
Yeah, so I was
important
already
than-
in French immersion, which statistics already show, at least in Ontario, that kids in French immersion do better on average in standardized English testing. Because when you learn a language when you're very young, a second language, you develop more like cognitive and linguistic skills, which tends to translate to just like broader ability to learn new skills.
It also might be the case that schools that offer immersion programs also are
Also,
just schools
right, yeah.
with better
So
reputations
there's
or
a
better
million other
programs,
reasons.
you know?
So,
yeah.
So I just went to a public school. It was just like, it was a free public
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, me
But
too. And
there was still pressure to like, oh, did you find out if you're gifted?
And I knew plenty of smart kids who weren't in the gifted program, and I knew some dumb kids who weren't gifted, you know? Like, yeah, there's a bit of a game going on here. But yeah, I won't lie, if I was a parent, I'd probably want my kid in a gifted
So
program.
did any of your siblings get into the gifted program?
Yeah, they were both smarter than me.
So both of your siblings are smarter than you,
Yeah.
but
Well,
you're super smart. Sorry, I didn't mean it to say it like
No.
factually. I mean, according to the gifted program in grade 6.
According to the gifted program, I was borderline,
you were
I
borderline.
suppose you
We're
could
both
say.
borderline.
We
Oh,
were
look
both
at that.
borderline.
We're going nowhere.
I just argued my way in, I guess. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, that must have been hard on it, all of you, though, because you're the youngest. So you knew that your older siblings. This kind of goes back to the podcast I had with my sister the other week on just like meeting, like comparing to your siblings. But yeah, to be a student having an older sibling and wanting to make sure you're at least as smart as them according to the standardized metrics of how you measure that, which is usually your school at that time. It can be tough. So you had two older siblings who are both incredibly smart. I mean, your brother has a PhD in math. I mean, now, not when he was 10, but
Not in
I mean, he
grade
could
school.
have. He's so smart, he probably could have got his PhD when he was
Maybe.
12.
I actually don't remember if I cared as much as I just thought it was like deeply unfair the way they were trying to not. I remember that teacher too being like, I had a lot of bad teachers in grade school. And she may have been the worst because it was the kind of teacher that would like, she would just tell us to like, I have so many memories of her just being at the front of the class, basically just like her feet up, like napping in her chair.
Really?
And like us just doing independent study, I think was the word they used.
Oh.
Like I felt like there was not a lot of learning going on in that class. Even.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a really long
Anyways,
tangent.
we're all gifted
Are
here.
Gifted programs controversial things? I think they must still be a
I
thing.
think they've kind of stopped. Like, I don't think they're as common. They're not as commonly pushed or as tested for as they used to be. I remember reading about this a few years ago, and I found it interesting. But yeah, you guys let me know in the comments. It's probably different across countries. I have no idea how it is in the States.
I wonder if we
when
sound
were
like
young,
dinosaurs.
When we were young in Ontario, this was like pretty common. Everyone was just getting tested. Are you smart enough to be in the gifted program? It was like we just automatically took this test, is from my memory.
Yeah.